Hello everyone, I'm Crookie, and welcome to my introduction to Spin Rhythm XD charting. The intent of this series is to help beginners who have never touched the Spin Rhythm XD editor, or those who have struggled to get used to the editor in the past, so as to bring them up to speed on how to create their first chart, or help them improve on the next one. The first video is going to focus on setting up your first chart. This includes creating a new file, getting the correct file formats, formatting metadata, and tempo mapping. If any of that sounds confusing, don't worry, I'll be covering everything mentioned in detail and a bit more. To begin, we want to find our file locations for customs. The easiest way to find where your files for customs are located is enter the customs menu. Near the bottom left of your screen should be a button that says Files. Clicking on that will immediately open up your customs folder. From there, you'll see a few folders, and if you have any customs already downloaded, you'll see a few files with an SRTB extension populating this folder. SRTBs are the files that contain your song metadata, tempo map, and all of your note placements. The only folders we're currently interested in for now are the album art and audio clip folders. The song you wish to use should be placed in the audio clip folder, and the album art you wish to use should be placed in the album art folder. Before creating our first SRTB file, we'll want to find audio and art. Spin Rhythm XD reads two types of audio format, OGG Vorbis and MP3. The preferred format is OGG, as the compression to file size ratio is generally better than MP3s. When sourcing your music, it's best to try and acquire a FLAC and convert it to an OGG, or if your source provides the option, downloading an OGG directly. Generally, the method for converting a FLAC to OGG is to use a program called Audacity. If there's enough demand, I can cover how to convert a file in Audacity in a separate video. Once you've obtained your OGG file, drag it into the audio clips folder in your customs file location. For album art, Spin Rhythm reads PNG and JPEG. In general, both are fine, but I have noticed more issues with JPEGs. Try to find at least a 500 by 500 resolution image, though an image of 1000 by 1000 is preferable. This can be dropped into the album art folder in the customs file location. Now we're ready to create our first chart. Back in Spin Rhythm, while in the customs menu, there is a selection on the song list called Create. If you have a large collection of customs, the easiest way to get to the Create selection is to hover over a song not on your favorites list. Click Sort and tick Show Only Favorites. This will immediately put you on the Create option. From there, click the Create button on the right. This will immediately bring you to the info editor. From here, we can start creating our metadata and our tempo map. First, we'll quickly go over the three buttons at the top. The question mark will bring you to Spin Rhythm's own charting guide, which is slightly less in-depth than this one, but serves as a quick reminder on a few things. The floppy disk or save icon tells you you'll save your chart when in the info editor. I recommend saving often. And the pencil icon will bring you back to the track details window if you click on other editable info, like the BPM or cue points. Next, we'll go over metadata. On the right side, there's a column called Track Details. Each text field is relatively self-explanatory, but I'll go over each briefly. Track name is where you place the name of your chosen song. Subtitle can be used to elaborate further on the track name. For example, if it's a cover, if there's something unique about this version of the song, or even if there's something unique about this version of the chart. Artist is where you will put the name of the main artist of the song, whether it is a group or individual. Featuring is where you will place the guest appearances or featured artists on the track. The charter field is where your name will be entered so that others know who created the chart. It should be auto-populated by your Steam username, but if you wish to, you can change it to anything you want. Audio clip is where you select your music file. If you placed your OGG file into the audio clip folder, it will appear in the drop-down selection. You can also type into this box to more easily find the desired audio. As of now, the set length from audio button doesn't do anything. Album art functions similarly to audio clip. If you have your art in your album art folder, it will appear in the drop-down menu. If you wish to find it faster, you can type into this field as well. In the bottom right section, there is a field for difficulties. Here you can select which difficulties you want to be present in your chart by selecting the tick box for the corresponding difficulty. If you are interested in charting non-XD difficulty charts, I have linked a written guide to how each difficulty should behave in the description below. Next to the tick boxes is the text field, where you can enter your difficulty rating for the corresponding difficulty. If you have no idea what to rate your chart, it is best to inquire with other charters or players for feedback until you become more comfortable with rating them yourself. In the middle of the screen, you will see a waveform with tick marks and numbers above, and a measure of time below. The larger waveform is a visual representation of your current song choice in audio clips. The two boxes above the tick marks represent your BPM marker, that is the box with the stopwatch icon, and your time signature marker, the box with the 4/4 written in it. We'll first go over the time signature marker. If you click on the box for the time signature marker, you'll have 3 new fields where your track details used to be. The first field is for where your marker will be placed on the waveform measures. As it is here, the field says 0, and the marker sits just above the 0 for the waveform. There's another way to move your marker, which I will address later in the video. The following 2 boxes refer to your numerator and denominator. Generally speaking, most songs are in 4/4, so you should rarely have to change these numbers. If you aren't sure about your song's time signature, you can generally look it up to make sure. More complex time signatures will be discussed in upcoming videos, but are beyond the scope of the series for now. If this is your first chart, I highly recommend choosing a song that is in 4/4. Finally, there is a delete button. This will delete the time signature marker that you currently have selected, unless it is the only one remaining. If you click on the BPM box, your track details window will change once again. You will now have new fields to fill and a few new buttons. The field that says BPM is where you will change the number to match the BPM, also known as your beats per minute, of your chosen song. The next field, time, is one way to adjust where your BPM marker is on the waveform. The number in this field represents the number underneath the waveform in seconds. As with the time signature marker, there's another method by which you can move your marker that will be discussed later. The tick box that says interpolate to next marker is used for more complex tempo maps. If you have a song with changing tempos or an uneven tempo, you may have to use interpolate to fix this. Interpolate also has the ability to linearly increase or decrease the BPM of your current marker to the next marker in your tempo map. All that being said, these are much more advanced options than I plan to address in this video, and if your song requires tempo changes, I highly suggest starting with a song that has an even tempo. The button that says tap BPM is used to find the BPM of your current song. By tapping along with the song's rhythm, the game will display the BPM at which you are tapping. The reset button will reset the BPM values of the tap BPM to null. The metronome button, which is toggleable by clicking on the blue square, will create a metronome based on your input in the BPM field. Finally, the delete button will delete the current BPM marker selected. As before with the time signature marker, this can only be done if there's more than one BPM marker in your chart. To find the BPM of your song, you have a few options. In the editor itself, you can use the tap BPM button and tap for about 5 to 10 measures and see what your average BPM comes out to be. From there, you can make adjustments until the BPM sounds correct. The second option is looking up the song's BPM online. This is usually accurate, but some sites may show a BPM that is entirely incorrect, especially for music with changing tempos. The third option is to use an outside program, one like Aerovortex, which is a charting software for 4-key rhythm games. These programs will automatically detect the BPM of the given song. If needed, I'll cover how to use Aerovortex for finding BPM in another video. Once you find your song's BPM, insert it into the BPM field. Once your BPM is found, we have to line up our BPM measures marker to the beat of the song. First, we'll discuss the icons at the bottom of the waveform. The plus sign will zoom you into your waveform, while the minus sign will zoom you out. Next to both of those is the play and pause buttons, which will play the song and move your waveform as the song plays. The play-pause button can be toggled by using the spacebar as a hotkey. Second, I have to mention that you can move your position on the waveform by clicking and dragging on the waveform itself. For placing our BPM marker, what we want to do is generally look for definitive signs in the waveform of strong beats that could indicate the start of a measure. Sometimes you'll be lucky and that strong beat is at the start of the chart, so it's relatively easy to line up. Other times you'll have to look deeper into the chart and line up on a later measure. By using the plus sign, you can zoom in to get a closer look at the waveform, and using the blue line as a marker for the definitive beat, we can then click and drag the BPM marker to line up the measure. The BPM marker, when dragged, will move the entire measure bar freely relative to your waveform. Once that is done, we can click the BPM marker and toggle the metronome to hear how it sounds. If it sounds off, it either means your BPM marker placement isn't correct, or your BPM is, if not both. Once you have it sounding nice and in time, we can move on. Just for holistic coverage of the options in the editor, I'll briefly discuss the two plus sign buttons on the top right of the waveform. The top one will add a BPM marker to the closest quarter note tick that your blue line is near. When moving the BPM marker, it locks to each quarter note step. If your previous BPM marker is set to interpolate, you can more freely move this marker. The lower plus sign will add a new time signature marker, which you can use if your song uses multiple time signatures. This box can only be dragged to the start of each measure. Finally, we can discuss creating cue points for your chart. Cue points are used as checkpoints for practice mode, and also as identifiers for you as the charter when working on your chart. If you press the / button on either the info editor or note editor, you will create a cue point at your currently aligned position, represented by the blue line on the larger waveform. Without getting too detailed, it is best to place a cue point at every notable change in your music, like a song changing from verse to chorus, or a song changing from a build-up to a drop. Once created, the cue point will be visible on the smaller waveform at the bottom of the info editor, represented by a vertical white line. If you click on the cue point, you will be brought to another new set of fields where your track details used to be. The first field, called Name, will let you change the name of your cue point, which as of now serves no real benefit, but might show up for practice mode in future updates. The second field is the exact time, based on seconds, where your cue point sits in your song. This correlates to the numbers at the bottom of your larger waveform. For the last button in the info editor, if you look to the bottom right, you will see Note Editor. This will bring you to your track and will be the main HUD for placing notes. Here, you can also use the / key to create cue points and can more precisely line it up to exact ticks. If you wish to return to the info editor, you just have to press the Click Info Edit button. Once you're finished, you can click Save and hit Escape twice to bring up the pause menu. If you ever find yourself stuck on the track viewer and unable to return to the info editor, press the R key. While in the pause menu, you can click Exit to bring you back to the Customs menu. While in the Customs menu, in the top right, you will see you are still in edit mode. Clicking this will toggle you between play and edit. While in play, you can play your chart like any other chart. And while in edit, you will have 3 options. Option 1, Edit, will bring you back to editing your chart. Option 2, Backup, will create a zip file of your chart that contains the SRTB, album art, and audio file. And finally, the Delete button will completely remove your SRTB, so be extra sure you wish to delete when selecting this option. And with that, we've covered the basics of setting up your first chart. In the next video, we will discuss the basics of using the note editor to begin creating an actual chart. Hopefully you have found this video helpful, and you can keep an eye out for future videos in this series. If you have any questions, feel free to add them in the comments. You can also head over to the Spin Rhythm Discords, where you can ask for further help. I'll provide a link in the description below. Take care.